Samach Hey Amud Beis will begin at Daf Samach Hey Amud Aleph, 7 lines from the bottom. We learned previously a machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Chamim in a case where the Bnei Yair v'Shaklu Shekleihem, they donated the matzah shekel that they had to give for that year. They sent it with messengers with shluchim. It got lost or stolen. If they were not yet tayrim the Trumas Halishka, the messengers of shluchim make a yeshua to the Bnei Yair. The Bnei Yair have to give replacement matzahs shekel. And if the original ones are found, they both have a din of shkolim. The Chum say they cannot use the extra ones for the next year. They cannot be used for next year, but Rabbi Yehuda said that they could. Rabbi Yehuda said that they could use the shkolim for the next year. It's oilam lahem l'shana haba. It's credited for next year's contribution. Because Rabbi Yehuda holds that chayva shel shana zu kreva l'shana haba. The obligations for 1 year can be brought in another year. Eisei Abaye asks a kasha from the following. Par v'sorah shel Yom Kippurim sha'avda. If you have the par and sorah shel Yom Kippur, the par and the goat of Yom Kippur were lost. V'hifr shachem tachteim, and he separated replacement ones. V'chein sira avodah zorah sha'avdu. Similarly, the korban for avodah zorah, the goat for avodah zorah, that it was his mouthfish and it was lost. V'hifr shachem tachteim. And he separated his mouthfish replacement ones. And then he was makriv the replacement ones. And then the original ones were found. So now he has the original ones. Kulan yamusu, all of the original ones have to be left to die. Did Rabbi Yehuda? And Rabbi Elazar Shimon, no, it's not left to die. You're actually a sell. You sell them till it gets a mum, v'yiplu d'meim l'nadovim. And the money goes for a dovish, ein chatas tzibor mesa, because even though we have Allah l'maysh misinai, there are chatas shekipur ba'al as l'misa, but that's only a private one, not a communal one, not a korban tzibor. So therefore they say yershi istal. But in any event, we see over here Rabbi Yehuda says like kol yamusa. Why is it kol yamusa? Why don't you use the power of sorah Yom Kippur for next year's power of sorah Yom Kippur? Why do we say yamusa? The Rishonim Masechet that it's true. Rabbi Yehuda said that the oilam l'shan haba, that's by shkolim. But over here we have Allah l'maysh misinai. That achata shekipru ba'aleha is lamisa. So what are we asking a kasha from over here, where apparently there's Allah l'maysh misinai? So Radvoy answers that the halach l'maysh misinai would apply only in a case where the owner has kippur ba'aleha, and then there's no use for this korban. Meaning, if a person he set aside a korban, an animal for let's say a chet of chil Shabbos or chaylev, and then it was lost, he brought a replacement, he found the original one. The original one is not oimed to be used for any other kapar. So it's a chata shekipur ba'aleha. We don't assume that he necessarily is going to have a similar chet in the future. So it's not oimed for any particular kapar. There's halach l'maysh misinai. But over here, where it's oimed, if it was lost and you found it, it's oimed for the next year's Yom Kippur. Next year's Yom Kippur is going to come. He's going to need it for next year's Yom Kippur. That's not the halach l'maysh misinai. Chatas kippur ba'aleh. So why should it be left l'misa? Why is it yamusu? It should be left to die, because you cannot use it for the next year. So don't we see a kasha from Rabbi Yehuda to Rabbi Yehuda? It's a stira, and Rabbi Yehuda, and the Shkolim he says it's oilam l'shana haba, and here he says it's not oilam l'shana haba, it's left to die. Amrle, he said to Abaye, korban tzibur komad. Why are you asking me a kasha of korban tzibur? Shiny korban tzibur. Korban tzibur is different. Karav tevi amar Rav Yeshia. Like he said, the Amar of Tevi Amar of Yeshia, he said, Amar Pro, the Pasuk says, Zois Oilas Chodesh B'Chodshel Chodshei Hashana. This is the oil of the new moon. It says a repetition of the word Chodesh B'Chodshel L'Chodshei Hashana. To teach you Chadesh V'Haveli Korban Mitruma Chadoshim. You have to bring for the Kavonos Tzibur, every year you have to come bring it from new Matzah shekel. Therefore, this year's money that was used for the Yom Kippur, for the Sorah of Yom Kippur, cannot be used for next year. It cannot be used for next year because you have to use new ones for every year. So therefore, you can't bring it for next year. Now, as Rabbeinu Yochim explains, is that, however, in the case where the matzah is a shekel and was lost, over there, it's not considered tzibur, because over there, it was lost before they were toirim the truma. Before they were toirim the matzah a shekel. So prior to the truma salishka, it's still considered private shkolim. So therefore, this halacha doesn't apply in the case of the shkolim, but it does apply in the case of the Sor of Yom Kippur. That's fine by the case of the soyer, it comes from the tzibur. But but the par comes from the Kohen Gadol himself, it's private. It's not tzibur. The Gemara answers, gzeira par to soyer. It's a gzeira. We're going to the par on the case, to the case of the soyer. And because if we allow you to do the par next year, you might do the soyer. Because of the gzeira, you're going to have it die. Why should it die? Why don't you say that, as Rashi explains here, why should we say it has to die? And additionally, that halach itself is not ma'akev, it's only a mitzvah. So the korban is to come from the new year. The year is determined by Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Echad ben Nisan. It's mitzvah lahavim min hachodesh. It's a mitzvah to bring it from the new shkolim. But if he did bring it from last year's shkolim, mitzvah. He's yaitz the korban, but he misses this mitzvah. He's missing this mitzvah of chadesh, of bringing new ones. But it's not ma'akeh. Ella, therefore, Amar Zera, therefore he says, what's the reason? Because the soyer is brought through a gairel. Now, therefore, the gairel from 1 year cannot be kaveya to determine what is the soyer l'Hashem, what is the soyer l'Azazel for the next year. So therefore, even though the korban could be brought, but the soyer, the goyrel, cannot be kaveh. So for example, well, do a goyrel next year. Next year, do a new goyrel. More says we don't do it because it's a gzera. People think that you're relying on last year's goyrel, and they'll think that 1 year's goyrel can help for the next year. Well, in any event, this is only concerned by the soyer where there's a goyrel. But par ma'ikal by the par, there's no goyrel for the par. So what's the issue? Where's the gzera par to soyer? It's a gzera. Again, because of this gzera, they should be left to die. We wouldn't say that they should be left to die. So Rabbanan Kameda Baya, he says gzera mishum chata shemesu baleh. It's a gzera for a case of chata shemesu baleh. We're concerned that in a case that perhaps the way Rashi explains that the Kohen Gadol will die, and one of the halachas of Moshe Sinai is one of the cases is that if the chatas shemeis ba'aleh, it's lamisa. So we're concerned that the Kohen Gadol might die, and therefore they might bring it where it's lamisa. So therefore we say, do not bring it for the next year. Taisus argues on Rashi's Pshat. He says if the Kohen Gadol dying, it's not shchiach, and we would know about that, we'd be aware of that. He says it's a concern, maybe one of the Kohanim, this korban is brought for all of the Kohanim, maybe one of the Kohen will die. And it will be a case of Chata Shemeis Ba'alel. That's concerned by the par. Sor Michael Meimar. The soya is a korban tzibur, and it doesn't apply in this case. The tzibur is not mace. There's no mace ba'aleh by the tzibur. So soya Michael Meimar. More answers. Gzeira soya atu par. It's a gzeira of the soya atu par. It's a gzeira. The Gemara omishum gzera yamusa, because of gzera again we're going to say yamusa. Ella, the Gemara says rather, what's the gzera? Gzera mishum chata shalosh nosa. It's gzera that if we leave it for the next year, it'll be a chatas where the first year is passed and it's possible. The more gzera. What do you mean gzera? He gufa chata shalosh nosa. It's not. What do you mean a gzera? because ought to a case of a chata shavar shnasa. By next year, isn't it certainly a chata shavar shnasa? The year has passed. It's into the next year. What do you mean exera? Gemara says, "Holy kasha." It's not a kasha because I can show you a scenario. I can give you a scenario where next year it will not be considered a chata shavar shnasa. How is that? Holy kasha karebi. That perhaps we're going according to Rebbe, the Sanya, that we learned Lagabe the din of Batei Rechaima, that if a person sells a house in a walled city, that his redemption, he can be paid only within the first year. How do you calculate the year? So we learned Shana Tamima, Sam Shana Tamima, it says a full year. His redemption is for a full year. It says, "V'im lo yigal ad lo shana tamima v'kam abayis asher be'er asher lo yicham l'smisus l'kainu eisel l'dorasav lo yetz b'yayda." So that's what it says. It says shana tamima, a full year. How do you calculate a full year? Mainu shloish me'as v'shishim v'chamisha ayom. It's 365 days, committing Yomai Sachama, like a solar year, Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says that you count 365 days. The Chacham, but the Chacham say, you count 12 months. It's not 365 days, it's 12 months. That's the year. That's the redemption of an Im Sabra, and if it's a leap year, if it's an Ibra year, Nisabra L'Meicher. The Meicher gets an extra month. That year happens to have 13 months, so he has 13 months in order to make the redemption. But we see, according to Rebbe, it's 365 days. So we would say, therefore, you would say, Lagabe, the year of how we calculate the year of the animal, then if a person is makdish the animal when it's 8 days old, on the day before Yom Kippur, the next year, when Yom Kippur comes, it would only be 364 days. Now, he's not makdish before the 8 days because it's not roy for a korban. But if he's makdish it on the day before Yom Kippur when it's 8 days old, the next Yom Kippur it'll be 364 days. It's still within the year, so it would be kosher for the next year. So therefore, according to Rebbe, it would be kosher, and therefore you could have a scenario where it could be used for the next year, and therefore, since it could be, we're geyser, we make a gzera that if he uses it, then people might use other serum that the next year, which are into their second year, which are not within their first year. So therefore, we make this gzera. Shon points out that really we could say that we're going according to the Chachamim, and therefore that Rav Yehuda goes according to the Chachamim, and therefore there's no reason to make a gzera because it will always be older. But we want to say, we want to work it out according to all the shitas. So either that it will be older or that it's a gzera onto a case where it might be older because you could have a scenario where it's within the first year, so we're geyser. But in any event, so it's a gzera. It's a gzera onto a case where it is beyond the time limit. Frankly, that's fine according to the Sora. The Sora has to be within the first year. But par, but what are you going to say about the par? The par does not have to be within the first year. Frank says, yes, but the par has to be within 3 years. It can't be more than 3 years old. So therefore, if it's older than 3 years, you still would have this same type of scenario. Why aren't we geyser that the par will be older than the 3 years, and you might use it, and therefore we should be geyser in all cases of the par. So what's the Gemara's kasha? Taisus answers, even if we say that par beyond the 3 years is disqualified, but that's not the halach l'Moshe Sinai. It's not the halach l'Moshe Sinai of Yamusa. This halach l'Moshe Sinai is by only in the case of where it's possible after 1 year. And the halacha is that it's in the case where it's a avrish shnasa, where it's then chatash avrish shnasa, it's where a kisba seira, it's within the first year. That's where we have the halach l'Moshe Sinai that it's yamusa. But in the case of the par, that in the case of the par where we don't have the halach l'Moshe Sinai of yamusa, therefore, even though it's disqualified, we don't have this halach l'Moshe Sinai, and therefore the gzera is not appropriate. So Gemara answers gzera parat soyer. It's gzera. In fact, the Gemara mishum gzera. Almost again. the same question, because Xer, we're going to have it die. Why don't you say and in any event, that doesn't help you, because even the Chata Shavar Shnasa L'Riya is not left to die, it's L'Riya. The din is Roya, not the Misa. The Misa doesn't apply over here. In any event, there's no Misa. The Aloha Meshmi Sinai does not apply in this case. So Gemara answers, Elo Omar Rava. Rava says rather a different reason. It's Xer Mishum Takola. It's Xer that if we leave it alive and we leave it to the next year, there might be a Takola, there might be a mishap, it might be used in an inappropriate way, and therefore we do not leave it alive. What that Takola is, we'll see in the following Amud.